Hello, welcome to Lesson 7. In this lesson we're going to create a sample workflow for shipping and operations, which really is just a catch-all for some of the common functions of Drive Image. We're going to go through barcode recognition, some zonal OCR processing, and then also batch scanning. Obviously this can be different or will be different based off every single different customer and workflow, but here we're just going to set up a sample and hopefully you'll be able to translate it into the specific workflow that your customer needs. So very common use of Drive Image is the processing of multiple documents in a batch. Oftentimes someone doesn't want to have to go back and forth to the scanner or the copier and scan things one at a time. They want to do it all maybe at the end of the day. Very specific use case for this is a shipping ladle. So we send something out, it gets delivered, it comes back, and here we've got a barcode on the document. Because we created the document or the template, we can determine the barcode and what the format is. And so let's say that this is the cover page or a sticker that's on the shipping ladle, and at the end of the day we want to scan in 100 of them, and when we see this barcode we want to recognize the number, put it in a folder based off that number, and also separate each time we see a barcode. So what we're going to do is create a new workflow in Drive Image called bill of lading, and we're just going to say as a description, recognize the barcode and batch scan. So this is also going to be an embedded device, but because there's going to be very little usage at the panel, it could also be a hot folder profile. The barcode and all that kind of stuff can work just as easily as an embedded profile as it can as a hot folder profile. So in this case, in the input, we're not going to do anything. We don't want the user to enter a single thing. In processing, we're going to set up barcode separation. Now, there's barcode recognition and barcode separation. The difference is that obviously in separation, you're looking for a specific barcode, and you're going to separate the document whenever you find that barcode. Now, you still will be able to use the value in that barcode for filing the document and whatnot, but this is how you'd set it up if you're going to do the separation. If you're not separating the document by the barcode, and you want to recognize, for instance, 4 different barcodes that are on a cover sheet, then you would use barcode recognition. The very first thing to do is open up barcode recognition or separation, either one, and hit test the settings. And what this is going to let me do is figure out what type of barcode I'm actually working with here. So if I do test the settings, it'll look at that barcode. If I hit run, it's going to go through, find every barcode on that page, and here it's going to tell me that it's a code 128. So now I know that I really only need to look for that type of barcode. So in this case, because there's only one barcode and it's on the cover sheet, I'm going to use separation. We're going to separate by barcodes. Here we're going to also merge pages based off barcodes. What that means is if 2 or 3 in that stack have the same barcode number, we're going to turn it into the same document rather than separate documents. And here we're not going to assume that every page has a barcode. Also down here we don't want to delete the separation page in this case because let's say it's a sticker on top of a packet. But if you had a cover page that you don't need to keep permanently, you could delete it. So here when I open up the preferences, I'm actually going to just set it to look for code 128 because I know that that's what we're looking for here. In advanced options, you can do a couple other things like set the location on the page. You can set it to only look for vertical or horizontal barcodes. In this case we'll do both because maybe it'll be put horizontally. We don't really care about the color here. If the barcode is bad quality, you can enable image pre-processing, which will let you clean up the image and despeckle and deskew it and maybe darken the lines before you recognize the barcode. That helps if it's a low pixel count or if the document's bad quality. And here you can set the scan distance, which is the sensitivity of the barcode reader. So we're going to keep this pretty normal here. Filter, this is where I can actually set a specific value for the barcode. So let's say if I know that I'm only looking for a barcode that's 8 digits, and I know that that's the invoice number on that barcode, I can set the filter to say the length is 8 characters, or I could set it to, it's numeric, or it ends with something, it's greater than something, anything like that. So I can create that filter there, and I can create multiple filters actually. And that's going to help me recognize a specific type of barcode on the page. So if there's some other barcodes that are 128 somewhere in there, I'm not going to accidentally recognize those. But in this case, I'm going to disable that. You can also set it to look for a number barcode on the page. So starting at the top, I want to look for the index of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So in this case, I'm going to keep it pretty standard. It's going to find that barcode. We're going to do some image processing, convert the files to a PDF, and then here in the output, what I'm going to do is enable file output. I'm going to browse, similar as we've done with the other profiles, to drive scans. I'm going to create a new folder called shipping. And I'm not going to create subfolders in here. All I'm going to do is, well actually yeah, let's create a subfolder, and let's do it by the date. So let's say what I want to do is create a new folder based off the year and the month. So if you see down here, I'm going to do YYYY and then MM. And so what that'll do is it'll place each new shipping ladle or packet into a folder based off the month that it's scanned, so we can go find it that way. So I'm going to create a new folder, and then let's see, in the file name generation, I'm going to just look for the barcode variable. And here is where if you set up multiple filters, you could pick which specific one you want to use. And then let's say I'm just going to put the date and time as well. And that's just the file name. So I'm going to save that, and we're going to pop open the simulator here. And I'm going to select bill of lading. You see that the user doesn't do anything. I'm going to scan it, and here I'm going to actually browse out to that sample document that I had. I'm going to hit upload, and then Drive Image here should go through and process that. It will create separate documents if there's separate barcodes on there. It should also, like I said, create a new folder for the year and the month inside of the shipping folder, and there we go, it's already done it. So 2015 2, and then here it recognizes the barcode number and it puts the date in there. So if you scanned a whole stack of those in there, it would actually create separate files here with the different barcode number on each. So now we're going to take it a little further, and instead of doing barcode recognition, we're going to work with zonal OCR recognition. So typically this is used when we know what kind of field we're looking for in the document, or we know what area of the document it's in. So sometimes that means that you're creating the document, or the customer is creating the document, sending it out, it's getting signed. Maybe it's coming back in, it needs to get digitized. So we kind of know where on the page the field that we're looking for is. We can also write some rules to look for a value anywhere on the page based off a format or a specific value. So I'm going to make a new profile here called, let's see, delivered, or delivery notes. How about that? So in this case, the company creates an invoice, it gets sent out, it gets scanned, and we want to automatically recognize some fields. So again, in this case, we're not going to ask the user to enter anything. In processing, we're going to turn on Zonal OCR, and we're going to hit Preferences, and then now we can create an OCR zone. In this case, we're only going to be looking for one field on the document. And let's see, we have some sample images here in the Drive Image folder. Let's see, test images. And this is where you could test whatever document comes from the customer. See, so I find the document. Let's do one of these invoices. There we go. And so here you see that you can zoom in And let's say here we want to find the account number. Well, we know that it's always in the same place. So what we could do is draw a box around that field and hit test, and it'll tell us what it's going to recognize. If you have control of the document, you might want to get the customer to isolate that number so that there's nothing around it. What that'll do is it'll let you draw a bigger zone to account for the document moving. So in this case, I'm just going to draw a pretty big box here, hit test, and you'll see that we'll get a lot of different information. So if you can't change the format of the document, or if you can't make the box narrow enough to always get that field, what you can do is write a rule here to only get this bit of information there. So I'm going to call this zone account number, and we're going to hit OK, and then OK. So in the output, what we're going to want to do is create a folder in the delivery notes folder only by that account number that we get back. So if I go to Drive Scans, I'm going to create a new one called Delivery Notes. And what we're going to do here is something a little different. We could, if we had isolated that zone out, if we go into the OCR zone section, let's see, we could just select that zone. But I know that if we do that here now, it's going to give me all that other junk around the OCR zone. So what we're going to want to do here is use a regular expression. And if you don't know how to use regular expressions, there's a very good FAQ on the Drivve website. If you just search Zonal, it'll explain how to do that. There's one called Working with Zonal OCR. And it'll link you down below to a website called Regex Hero. And here at Regex Hero, you can test out your regular expressions. So there's a lot of different libraries and help there. There's also some examples in the Drivve knowledge base. But what I'm going to do here is use the regular expression match function. And what this does here is it looks for a string, which in this case will be our zone. We have a pattern, which is a regular expression. And then we say what part of that regular expression we want to use. So in this case, I'm going to say look at whatever comes back from that account number zone. And I know that it had a number and then a space and then what I actually wanted. So what I'm going to do is a value for the number and then some spaces. And if you play around with this at the regex here, you should get all of these different commands and you can practice it. And then what I'm going to do is any letter or number here. So the submatch index, I also know that I want it to be 3 because I have 1, 2, and 3 all inside the parentheses. And this is the one that I actually want here. I want to create a folder based off the account number that comes back. So I'm going to name it, let's just say delivery note, and then let's just do the date and the time. You could also use that same regular expression there. And I'm going to save it. So now what Drivve should do is look for that zone, narrow down the results, and actually using that regular expression, it'll only find the account number and create a folder based off that. So now let's give this a test. So I'm going to open up the simulator and use the delivery notes profile. And here we don't ask the user for anything, they just hit scan. So right there it would pull the files through, but we're going to go out and browse and get it. I'm going to hit upload and finish. And then down here in the delivery notes folder, we should see the document coming through. Also can look here in the Drivve image work service folder. This is where you can see what's being processed. And we'll go through that a little later when we do the support video. But so it's working on it there, and then you see right there it created the new folder with just the account number, and inside of it, it created the new delivery note. So that's just an example of how you can use zonal OCR and regular expressions and some formatting rules to bring back and clean up the results. Obviously, if you need some help, you can create a support ticket and we'll give you a hand, or we can do it as a professional service if you can get some of the sample files. So those are two more examples of a functional workflow. We did accounts payable, bill of lading and delivery notes and legal. And hopefully you'll be able to use those tools and those functions to create all sorts of different workflows to help your customers save time. The next videos, we're going to focus more on some of the more personal scanning options here.